oh boy, am I not even a little bit surprised by this. Donald Trump has just moved to freeze the hiring of all federal workers indefinitely. This has meant that hundreds of thousands of Americans are currently kind of in limbo in terms of whether or not they think they're going to lose their federal jobs. Tens of thousands of potential federal workers in America who were in the hiring process have had their hiring process frozen, and thus they have lost their opportunity at getting said job, possibly ever, though maybe sometimes anytime soon. And on top of all of that, Donald Trump is going through and firing those that are not fully in lockstep with him. And yes, this includes even people that he previously hired back in 2016 to 2020. Now, his most recent move in mass firings, and remember, he was always famous for the firing people thing. You fired. Who remembers that? That was like his original catchphrase. Trump has now fired more than a dozen inspectors general. Now, if you're wondering what the inspectors general do, their job is essentially to oversee and ensure the legal, making sure that everything is going well with the Department of Justice. They oversee and balance that particular segment of the federal government. So the idea that Donald Trump is currently starting with those above the Department of Justice tells you that he is going to start axing those that do not back him up and do not bend the knee to him within the DOJ and across every single inch of the federal government. He has also suggested reallocating 88,000 IRS agents to work at the border to round up migrants. I think there's like 87,000 total IRS employees. And Trump thinks they're agents. So Trump essentially said 101% of all IRS employees must leave their position at the IRS and go work at the border. Now, keep in mind, by the way, I know there's a lot of memes about hating taxes and the IRS and all of that, but the IRS, next to the United States Postal Service, is one of the most efficient and actually profitable government agencies in all of the federal government. The IRS is not a money sink. It is not a waste. It is purely the enemy of the billionaire buddies that don't want to pay taxes of Trump's. And guess what? If you think the IRS is going to go away and that just means that all of us working class people don't have to pay taxes anymore too, I assure you that's not what it'll mean. Donald Trump's proposed tax plan is guaranteed to raise taxes for people in the lower and middle class because that's what it did during his first 4 years. And he's going to do it even harder now. And that is going to be cutting the billionaires' taxes too. So get ready for that because this is what you voted for. When Republicans like Trump say less taxes, they only mean for themselves, the wealthy. So let's go ahead and see the start of Trump's long journey to cripple our government and root out those that are not fully willing to bend the knee to him.
Start tonight with President Trump putting his stamp on the federal government with unprecedented speed. And just 6 days in, he's already taking a victory lap with his first post-inauguration rally in Las Vegas.
I declared a national emergency at our southern border. Under our leadership, America is back open for business. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been viciously persecuted. We are now in a merit-based world.
The pardoning hundreds of political prisoners who had been persecuted were the J6 insurrectionists, by the way, who were all convicted.
World.
Trump has two more members of his cabinet in place tonight. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, whose nomination once seemed on life support, was sworn in today after a 50-50 Senate vote. Vice President J.D. Vance stepped in to break the tie. And in an overnight move that seems to have caught much of Washington by surprise, the president fired the inspectors general, the title for top in-house watchdogs, from a number of federal agencies. With so much to cover, CBS's Willie James Inman is with the president in Las Vegas.
You know how there's no protests? Like compared to 2016, you know how there's like really nowhere near the amount of protests as there was? It's because those that would protest Trump seem to fully understand how serious this is. That going out on the street right now and protesting Trump might be like a lifetime in prison or a death sentence, depending on where you are and if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time. Because the most radical of the crazies in his cult feel so empowered right now, it's actually insane. I really do wonder how many of the Trump supporters, those that voted for the guy, how many of them right now are still huffing the copium and justifying everything he does? And I'm curious how long it's going to last. Like, obviously the most hardcore cultists they'll never waver. But, like, the normies who fell for it, the dumbasses who fell for it, will their tendency to find whoever is the figurehead of power at any given time to be responsible for their problems, will that tendency harm Trump like it did his first term? It feels like America's gotten so retarded, it might not. Americans might have horseshoed around in their stupidity where they're willing to accept that the president has limited control over the economy, but only in the one case where a president is actively taking unilateral action in an unprecedented manner to destroy the economy. I would not be surprised if they managed to horseshoe all the way around.
Willie James, good evening.
Good evening to you, Nancy. As members of President Trump's cabinet are confirmed by the U.S. Senate, behind the scenes, the White House is making swift overnight changes to the federal workforce.
In a move that has caused bipartisan backlash, the Trump administration fired government watchdogs from a number of agencies overnight. In a letter obtained by CBS News, the now fired...
This is all about destroying every route of accountability that Trump could be held at. The other day, I was in a call with some friends that are not really super into politics, and one of them said, man, I hope Trump gets impeached. And I had to tell them, he can't be. They were like, what? I was like, listen, I don't blame you for not knowing about this because you're not super into politics, and to be fair, the media kind of swept this under the rug pretty hard. But about a year ago, a little more than that actually, the Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump specifically cannot be found guilty of any crime that was deemed to be done while he is as an official action, while he was in office. And it is up to the Supreme Court even to decide if something he did out of office could be considered an official act. And it is his Supreme Court that made all these decisions. And so I had to explain that the House and the Senate right now would, of course, never even vote to impeach Trump in the first place. But even if they could, he couldn't be removed from office, and he couldn't be criminally tried and found guilty of a crime because all of it would be considered an official act as per his appointees in the Supreme Court's agenda and goal. And I think that's when it set in for this friend of mine that, like, holy fuck. No, it's like, it's really bad. And what really sucks about it is how many people had no idea that, like, Trump can't even be impeached anymore. It's insane. Wrong, he can still be impeached if the stars align, and he can be removed from office through impeachment. No. The Republicans in office will never do this, okay? That's not going to happen. Yes, it could happen. Technically, legal, like, they could vote differently, and it could happen. Trump cannot be convicted, and he will not be removed from office because they will never even vote on it in the first place. There's no point in impeaching. It's a nonsense idea that we can just impeach Trump out of power. It's not going to happen. The House and Senate are majority Republican, will never vote on it. He can never be found guilty of a crime. He can't be removed from office. He's not going to get impeached. It's not a reality that can happen. He can't even be put in prison. I think you're wrong. The Supreme Court didn't stop Trump's sentencing, so maybe they're going against him a bit. I think the reason they didn't stop his sentencing is because they didn't need to stop his sentencing. Who knows, though? We'll see. We'll find out.
Hired Inspector General of the Small Business Administration.
The sentencing was on a state level, not federal. Oh, so the Supreme Court couldn't have done anything about it anyway. Okay.
Said that he believes the actions taken are not legally sufficient.
He seems to be trying to throw a monkey wrench into the kind of any independence left on our governments.
Under law, Congress must be given a 30-day heads up, along with a detailed explanation about the removal of an inspector general. In a statement, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley.
I love how through all of this, people have said Trump can't do this or that because you have to do all these things in order to do that. And Trump keeps on doing things that everyone is shocked because they're like, oh my God, you're not supposed to do it that way. But he did it anyway, and now it is how things are. It's like, okay, so I think we're starting to realize now whatever guardrails we thought existed do not exist anywhere near. It's so funny because all these left-wing media organizations tried so hard to fearmonger like clicks through Trump's or through Biden's 4 years. And now they're downplaying Elon and Trump because they're too afraid to cover it honestly, because they believe that if they're seen as sensationalist, then it'll give popular support for Trump and the government to shut them down. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you go to the like comments of CNN or MSNBC, all the comments are about how they're excited for Trump and Elon to shut down MSNBC, CNN, and all of these left-wing media outlets. Like they're actively like, when will Trump shut these down? They weren't left-wing, they're liberal, but that's not at all the same thing. Spoken like someone who knows nothing about politics. What, why, how has a new video on why Trump isn't a fascist, but is paving the way for future fascists, if you're interested. He's the guy who covered What If Alt Hist, if you remember. No, Trump is objectively a fascist. That's just objectively wrong. Like Trump is paving the way for fascists, don't get me wrong, but Trump is also objectively a fascist, yes.
Grassley said he would like further explanation from President Trump.
CNN is left-wing, really? Yes, because left and right-wing is entirely a matter of perspective, and in America, CNN and MSNBC, even with CNN reorganizing to be more favorable to Trump and Elon and covering for their bullshit, sanity washing their bullshit, is notably more left-wing in the Overton window of my country, America, than the vast majority of the rest of the media. There is no left if CNN isn't left and MSNBC isn't left in terms of media. Then there is nothing. There is nothing left. Like, it's a matter of perspective, though. Like, come on, let's not pretend like there is some universe-ordained objective left and right. It's all a matter of perspective, okay?
The drastic shift is part of a flurry of executive action during President Trump's first few days in office, which also include the removal of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The White House now says agencies should terminate DEI employees within 60 days.
This means not literal DEI employees, obviously, like employees hired through like some affirmative action program, but this means they're going to be firing all the brown people. Mainstream media is basically dead to me at this point with how many of them got on their knees to start sucking. Fair. That is true, but let's be real here, okay? Listen, all right, guys, listen. Do not just trust alternative media on the internet just because you don't trust the mainstream, okay? As bad as mainstream media has gotten lately, alternative media has no accountability whatsoever, okay? I technically have little to no accountability, all right? Like, every content creator in this space has little to no accountability, all right? Which means whether you're watching me, whether you're watching Alex Jones or Vosh or Steven Crowder or Hassan, you need to always remember that at the end of the day, there is far less accountability for a independent YouTuber, internet content creator, news media guy if they lie or misrepresent or narrativize something a little bit dishonestly than there is for the mainstream media. Lawsuits are the norm for these media companies when they misreport on things. It is very rare and considered very faux pas to do so in the world of content creation online, all right? So do not just start embracing alternative media under the belief that it's more trustworthy. Keep that critical thinking hat on, even when you're watching me, because trust me, the internet is far from better in terms of the accountability for misinforming you. If CNN is considered left, then all is lost. I mean, I don't my God, just leave. If you're that obnoxious, just leave. You know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not going to argue with you. You know what relative means. Okay, buddy. like you want me to argue with you when I know you're trolling? Or like so stupid that you're not worth arguing with? Like, what do you want me to do? It's on us to fact check and be informed. I mean, yes, but at the same time, it shouldn't have to be. Like, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have this massive, like, misinfo on the internet problem, and you wouldn't have to be like, make sure you're doing your own research, guys. Make sure you're thinking critically when you hear someone say something. Don't just take it at face value.
Yeas are 59. The nays are 34. The nomination is confirmed.
Meanwhile, the president's cabinet is starting to take shape, with former South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem confirmed by the Senate this morning to serve as DHS Secretary. And Pete Hegseth is now the Secretary of Defense after a tie-breaking vote late Friday night.
I want to thank the President of the United States, our Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. It is the honor of a lifetime, sir, to serve under you.
And Nancy, CBS News has learned that the Army has told units to prepare for possible deployment in anticipation of numbers at the U.S. southern border ramping up in the next 24 to 48 hours. Nancy?
Willie James Inman, thank you. We start tonight with President...
Dude, this is bad, okay? I know that this is the kind of stuff that's probably not going to get all that much attention compared to a lot of the other things that Trump is doing. But trust me, this is bad, and you need to be worried about this. This is Trump taking proactive measures to eliminate routes of accountability that can be taken against him. Let's read some comments and see if it's copium or people who are reasonable and actively calling this shit out. Much better that Trump shills Corden than some meme coin, as this coin has actual utility. No idea what that was supposed to mean. Leaks coming out about Trump working together with shareholders involved with Corden token. Oh, Cardin token. Oh, yeah. Is that like the rug pull he's doing? We're in the find out stage. Good job, conservatives. Good luck, everyone. Wait, is it all just like about this? This might just literally be bots spamming about a random token. I don't know. It seems like a bunch of like AI like crypto bots are spamming the comment section. This is bad, guys. This is Trump's first proactive steps to eliminate the path to holding him accountable for any unconstitutional, anti-human acts he could take in office. It's going to be a problem. Listen, guys, if y'all want to keep up and just be caught up on what's going on and perhaps even help me counter the domination of the right-wing media sphere that has allowed us to get to this point where not only are we seemingly losing the democracy that this country was built upon, but all the while the majority of voting Americans seem to be cheering it on, and the rest seem to be relatively ambivalent to it, just not really caring or recognizing what's happening before them. This has been done primarily through the domination of the media space, and if you want to help counter that, then a good place to start would be to support me, if you want to, of course. A good way to do so would be to drop a like and a comment, whether you're watching live or on one of my videos. Every single thumbs up and comment boosts my channel immensely in the algorithm, forcing YouTube in real time to show my content to new viewers and old ones alike. So I really do appreciate everyone who does that. Thank you to all the likers, all the commenters. It really means a lot. And of course, subscribe and ring the bell icon if you want to turn on all notifications so YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future, because remember, if you don't, they won't. And, of course, follow my social medias linked down below in the description if you want to see more from me. And, of course, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall Studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless, though, of how you support me, I really, really do appreciate it, and as always, I hope you have a good one.